What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about the black male restaurant owner in Dallas who ended up yelling at one or two black women who were twerking in his restaurant. And I just want to talk about that situation and just really unpack it. All right. So the black restaurant owner, the black male restaurant owner, he owns a restaurant, of course, in Dallas, and folks say it's upscale. Based on the picture I'm seeing, it doesn't seem upscale, but whatever. It doesn't have to be upscale to be successful or popular. Um, and he says that black women are about 75% of his, clientele base, customer base, whatever you want to call it. Wonderful. Once again, black women are supporting black men. Once again, right? Once again. Although I did hear that dude may be a swirler. I'm not sure if black women would be comfortable with that. But then again, some black women wouldn't be like, whatever. You know, I just wanted to throw that out there right quick. And also come back to it at one point or another in this video because he does go on to mention some like, quote unquote black stuff that, we can talk about too. So, of course, you guys already seen the footage. If you haven't, go YouTube it, Google it, schmoogle it, what have you. But in the restaurant, there were pretty full, looks like, but there were some black women and maybe one or two were twerking because apparently the DJ in the restaurant, in this classy upscale restaurant, the DJ was playing Body Yaddy 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 Body Yaddy 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 by Megan Thee Stallion. And that is a twerk song. And some people are like, well, you don't have to twerk to a twerk song. You can just listen to it. That doesn't mean you're supposed to twerk. And that is true. It does not. You know. However, you do as a restaurants and places in general do have certain vibes, right? Whereas like, a club has a certain vibe. A school has a certain vibe. A church has a certain vibe, right? And perhaps the vibe in this restaurant was that it was cool to twerk. That could be true. And to be fair, I never visited the restaurant, so I don't know. But that could have been a vibe. I'm not sure, just in those women's defense. But, he did ask the women or woman to stop twerking and then asked them again, I think. And then at one point or another, he got mad, had the DJ cut off the music and lecture not only the women twerking, but also the whole restaurant full of black women primarily. Now, if I'm in the restaurant, as a customer who is paying my money and behaving and not twerking, I don't need to be lectured like I'm a kid getting scolded by my parents. So I didn't really like that. Now, he could have taken those women off to the side and lectured them and escorted them out, But I didn't like that whole lecture thing with the whole restaurant. And as well, it was some cussing involved in it as well, which is even more infuriating. So this situation went viral. And a lot of people have a lot of things to say about this. It's been talks about respectability politics among black folk. Um, talks about how black women behave in restaurants. Talks about how black people behave in public, just in general. A lot of talks about that sort of things along those lines, right? And those are great conversations that need to be had in some cases because some black folks do need to, get themselves together. Really just people in general, but we're speaking about black folks today. So I'm going to, keep it on black folks. And this guy, the black male restaurant owner, he wound up going on TMZ and he spoke with Harvey Levin as well as maybe some other folks too. I know Harvey for sure. And Harvey was saying, trying to, he brought up twerking, and the black male restaurant owner said that basically he don't liked it. He don't like twerking. Well, the black women, he don't like to see black women twerking, I'll say. Not in his restaurant. And he also said, like, oh, black women are the most, disrespected women on the planet, quoting that Malcolm X quote that everybody and their mama want to start quoting now. And I'm like, dude, or chick, you like 50 years or 60 years late. All right, we've been established that. That's been established. What's the next step? All right, we still having this conversation here about black women being the most unprotected woman in America. Mm. And then want to act like you just said something so, new. Like, on some woke points. Like, I'm so woke. I'm so woke. I quoted Malcolm X. I'm so woke. That's what's up. I'm woke. Nah. Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do a lot more than that. So that dude, the black male restaurant owner, he kind of brought up that quote. Not exactly, but he kind of remixed it, but something along the lines of that, though. And so he's aware of black women's, perception, how black women are treated, etc. And he did say that, he apologizes for using, the F word while he was, scolding them like they were children. And Harvey Levin brought up twerking again. And, basically the dude, he didn't like twerking being associated with black women's image. And as well, he didn't like black women twerking in his restaurant. Very much respectability politics. And I'm not saying that respectability politics never work. I'm not saying that, we should completely throw them out. But I do find it a bit weird that folks are very quick to stamp respectability politics on black women and their behavior in public. But when it comes to black men and their behavior in public, I feel like folks are more apt to defend black men's degeneracy, for a lack of a better word, versus black women's degeneracy. Why is that? And I think folks really just feel more comfortable across the board, folks, people across the board here feel more comfortable coming at black women. But to be fair, folks outside of the community do come at black men too. But in terms of inside the community, though, folks really feel way more comfortable coming at black women than black men. And you can see that the way that that dude acted in the restaurant when he was scolding and yelling at, the black women in the restaurant. If it were black men or just non-black people in general, I don't think it would have went down exactly like that. Me personally, it could maybe, but I don't really see that, And as well, there was some footage floating around here of that restaurant owner, leaning and rocking and dancing on top of a table in his restaurant with some dude or somebody. And it's like, okay, so is this a classy upscale restaurant or not? Is it classy on some days and ratchet on some other days? Maybe the women just got it mixed up and was like, oh, I thought this was the ratchet day, my bad. This the classy day, whoops, my bad. Maybe they got it mixed up. Maybe this dude is sending mixed signals. Who knows? I think that's part of the problem too. Sometimes people in general send mixed signals to, I'll say, black women and what they expect from black women. For example, there'll be people, in the media especially, talking about how they want black women to behave a certain way, but, behave in ways that are considered, prim and proper, quote unquote, right? But then they only want to highlight the women who would be the opposite of that, like the ratchet twerking women, though, right? Those are the women who get a lot of times the spotlight when it comes to like black men having people who they can, you know, promote, an image and that sort of thing, right? Like say music videos, for instance, that kind of happens in music videos, right? Sometimes in movies too, right? And I'll say that probably just prim and proper black women just don't sell as good as, ratchet twerking black women, you know? But that's just an example of like sometimes like mixed signals, where it's like you want folks to behave this way, but there's seemingly, the women who do behave that way seemingly get like ignored or overlooked, or no one seems to pay attention to them as much as like, the twerking ratchet chicks, etc. Right? Um, but back to this situation with the restaurant owner. All right. So he was talking about, he brought up some black stuff, quote unquote, during that interview with Harvey on TMZ. And, from what I heard, word on the internet streets is that dude is a swirler. But then I heard somebody saying like, oh, he got two black children too. He got two black children. All his children ain't mixed. And, you know, ultimately, what's here and now? Who is dude with here and now, right now? Because the thing is, when black women are swirling, folks don't bring up their, dating history. Like, well, she just dated a black guy here. They don't do that with Serena Williams. They don't do that with Eve. You know, none of these women, they don't really do that with. It's like what's here and what's now. Everything else before that is irrelevant. And this is how I'm going to treat that situation too. Because I think someone brought that up, and I think it was a black woman, of course. Black women love to, there is a segment of black women who do cape for black men who shouldn't be caped for, right? And then, saying, oh, he owns a restaurant, he owns a business, and folks being really concerned about that, folks focusing, seemingly being more so on, oh, this black restaurant owner versus how the black women were treated. And it can be both, but, folks being really concerned about that and just acting like it's just the best thing since sliced pizza. And I'm not saying that's nothing to be proud of. That's not anything great, because it is. But, when like, in the black community, when black men do something that's, along the lines of this, like, oh, he opened up a restaurant, or he opened up a business or something that's like positive, really stuff that black men are supposed to be doing. It's just like, whoa, it's the best thing ever. Even if they wrong, we still got to support this black man. He the black king. He's trying to, do the best thing ever for us. We gotta support our black king. So what if he yelled at you? So what? So what? It's the bar is set low. I guess that's where I'm trying to get at. For black men in the black community, right? The bar is set really low, right? So because of that, it's just like, oh well, he may be a bad father, but at least he and his children alive. At least he paying child support. Like, well, isn't that what he's supposed to be doing? Like, you want me to throw you a parade and throw you a cookie for that? Doing what you're supposed to do? Right? But, kudos to him for being a black restaurant owner, especially having restaurants during this time, the time that we're in right now. Again, black women supporting it, mind you, because folks love to just say that black women don't support stuff. And like, black woman against the black man. She trying to bring us down. She done linked up with the white devil, trying to bring a black man down. Right? She done linked up with the white feminist movement, shown in, trying to bring a brother down. Right? Even though, word on the street is this dude linked up with some white woman now, but whatever. Who cares about that? You know, love is love. We can date who we want to date. That shouldn't matter, you know. But again, black women funding, a non-black woman's lifestyle. Get into it, right? But, before I end this video, I do want to touch on, the women who were twerking. Want to get at them for a quick sec too. It's been mostly concentrated on the restaurant owner, but I will say that ultimately the restaurant owner, he does have a right to say what goes on in his restaurant and what does not go on in his restaurant, you know, as dictated by the law, etc. Right? And if this guy, if this restaurant owner, if he doesn't want them twerking in his restaurant, then they should ultimately respect that and say, I apologize. I'm sorry. I will not do that again while I'm in your restaurant. And that should be the end of it. But unfortunately, for some reason or another, that wasn't the case. I'm not sure why that is, maybe these women were part of the ratchets, and just like, hey, I twerk anytime I want to twerk, I don't know if they were giving him, some sort of attitude, maybe. I don't know. But I think that, the women should have just stopped twerking when he asked them to. And, you know, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes I know maybe they felt like, oh, well, he's playing this music, maybe it's cool. But apparently it wasn't cool, even though he still kept playing twerk music. But yeah. And maybe they can just say, hey, cut the check and we'll be out of here. Or just be like, if they haven't ordered yet, like, I apologize. I have to leave. I can't deal with this anymore. I just don't feel comfortable being here, etc. But that's all I got to say. Let me know what you got to say in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now. I guess one more thing. People do like to use situations like this to like come at black women like as a collective, like come at the whole collective of black women, like, oh, this is how all black women, behave. And this is how all of them are. They're all ratchet twerk queens. And I just don't think that's true. Maybe perhaps the women in their family, maybe their mom act like that. Maybe their mom wasn't, was a wild ratchet on the loose. And maybe because of them having a wild ratchet mom on the loose, or maybe their sisters like that too, maybe you think that it's like all black women. But no, it's not all black women just because, your mom was a no good nick, or your sister was, right? That was just your mom and your sister, and perhaps your grandmother and aunts, and, the other black women in your family. But don't put it on all black women. So, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Adios and goodbye for now.